Do you sense it? Can you smell it? Believe it or not, I am not talking about the boodle breeze from the whoopee cushion on The View, which potentially caused an earthquake yesterday in Mother Russia. Obviously, the smell of the boodle breeze is rancid, but the smell I'm talking about, this is a bit more serious. It's the smell of fear. And although we might not smell it, although we might not sense it, they are damn sure feeling it in the business of late night television. Of course, Steph Colbert is no longer feeling it. His nightmare has become reality because CBS has already fired his ass. But Jim Kimmel, Jim Fallon, Sean Squires, they wake up every morning not knowing whether their next woke welfare check will arrive in the mail. Well, Casey, who in the hell is Sean Squires? You're not familiar with Sean? He's the dude in late night who looks like Pee Wee Herman. I understand, though. I understand not being familiar with Sean Squires since, no one is watching his late night dump. Hell, most people don't realize that Sean Squires exists. I believe he goes by the stage name Seth Meyers. He comes on right after Jim Fallon on NBC. Jim hands Sean dozens of viewers every night, and Sean dwindles that number down to a cool baker's dozen. Supposedly, Sean Squires hosts a late night comedy show. It's your typical late night show in the year of our Lord 2025, where the audience is instructed not to laugh. They sit politely and listen as the host indoctrinates them with passionate lectures on the terrifying process of gender selection and defining each letter of the LGBT alphabet. When you're working for someone else, one of the most stressful aspects of the job can be losing the job. Oftentimes, hardworking people, they lose their job through no fault of their own. The guy in his 60s gets replaced by some kid in his 20s who's making a quarter of his salary. Or to modernize that scenario, the guy in his 60s gets replaced by an ageless robot that the dude in his 20s is currently dating. My first job out of college, I was working for a Fortune 500 company. Me and one of my good friends, we were both managers at the company. At this point, we had both been with the company 5, maybe 6 years. One day, they announced that they're doing some redistricting. Our area gets a new district manager. For reasons unknown, the new boss, he never liked my friend from day one. It was just one of those things where two people didn't mesh well. 6 months later, my friend gets fired. Anytime you work for someone else, you wake up every morning with the risk of losing your job. Hell, even with what I do here on YouTube, I don't have a boss. There's no risk of me getting fired unless I fire myself, but I could wake up tomorrow morning and you guys could suddenly decide that you're tired of Uncle KC. You guys could decide that you no longer want to be a part of the family. And just like that, my career would be over. There are countless ways you could lose your job through no fault of your own. Unfortunately, that is not the case for the trio of huge embarrassing failures in late night television. And it's damn sure not the case for the fourth huge embarrassing failure, Sean Squires. The demise of late night. This could have been prevented. Jon Stewart and Greg Gutfeld, they are proof that there is still a market for late night television. During the first quarter of 2025, Greg Gutfeld was averaging 3.6 million viewers. You would have to combine the audiences of the trio of huge embarrassing failures just to equal the audience of Greg Gutfeld. And he's behind a paywall. Gregory is on cable. According to the mainstream media, cable is a dying platform. Yet, for some reason, I never hear that excuse from those who can draw an audience on cable. Since the firing of Steph Colbert, The fear has been rampant throughout late night television. You don't have to take my word for it. Uncle KC always comes with the proof. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel's in the description below. Earlier today on the second channel, talked about the potential labor strike in Major League Baseball. Once again, millionaires are arguing with billionaires over money. This could potentially be a repeat of what we saw back in 1994. The strike in 94, it damn near killed Major League Baseball, and if they're not careful, it could happen again. They got lucky in the late 90s with the home run chase. The home run chase in 98, it saved Major League Baseball, but I just don't think they can depend on that savior twice. So if you haven't already, click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Recently, Sean Squires, he was interviewed by someone named Dax Shepard. I think Jax used to be on Jackass, or maybe it was Punk'd. It was one of those MTV shows from the 2000s, back when MTV actually produced content. It's sad what MTV has become. This is the same network that influenced 2 generations. This is the same network that created reality television. These kids in Gen Z LGBT, they've got no idea how impactful MTV used to be. They were responsible for creating megastars. They were releasing original shows 12 months out of the year. MTV used to be a content machine, and now the only show they broadcast is Ridiculous with Rob Doofus. But anyway, Dax Shepard, he used to be on one of those MTV shows, but today he hosts a podcast called Armchair Expert. Recently, Sean Squires was a guest on the podcast where he was introduced to most people for the first time. Sean was sitting on a couch with his legs crossed, similar to how my wife sits on the couch. Maybe he was dangling his feet while feeling guilty over his white privilege and contemplating painful microaggressions. Dax Shepard, he interrupted these utopian thoughts, and he asked Sean if he ever worried about losing his job at NBC. He asked Sean if he ever worried about getting fired. Now, to his credit, Seth Meyers gave what I thought was a somewhat honest response. Watch it for yourself.
Do you have the fear that this is going to end tomorrow still? Or if not,
like the job or the life?
Employment.
My fear is weirdly more outside of my control, which is like, it just at some point, like the ecosystem might not support it.
It might be a post late night world.
Yes. And so I guess that's better than thinking it's your fault, but it is weird to not feel any control over it. I sometimes take stock of, oh, this isn't the best time to be doing what I'm doing, but at least I got in early on in the show. You know, we had some like NBC executives like actually say to us, like, we're very worried about how the show's going to go.
Oh boy.
NBC executives were worried about how the show was going to go. On this current trajectory, the show is going the way of the dodo bird, and it's taking the career of Captain Dodo with it, because this show is on the verge of extinction. Like the other huge embarrassing failures hosting these late night dumps, Seth Meyers tried to shift the blame for his failure. It's not my fault. I don't have control over this. You don't have control? You don't have control of your own show. Sean did a nice job polishing this turd, but that does not mean that I'm biting into the shit sandwich. How in the hell do you not have control of your own show? The insinuation here is the genre of late night television is antiquated. The industry is dying, and Sean Squires, he can't help that he is sinking along with the Titanic, but he never explains why the industry is dying. All he had to do was listen to Uncle KC. I told you guys years ago, the biggest problem in late night television is the host. Sean has every reason to worry about job security. NBC is paying him $5 million a year. If I had to guess, it probably cost NBC 70, 80, maybe $90 million every year to produce this turd. Stephen Colbert, he was losing $40 million every year, and he was averaging just under 2 million viewers. Last month, Sean Squires, he averaged 885,000. It's not hard to figure out how this story is going to end. For almost 20 years, Conan O'Brien, he had the same exact time slot as Sean Squires. I know it was a different era of television. I know it was a different time, but Conan O'Brien, he was a big star. Even when he was at TBS, Conan still had the ability to generate headlines. How often do you hear about Seth Meyers? This dude interviewed John Biden last summer, and it was barely talked about. Like we talked about the other day in the video about Jay Leno, there used to be competition in late night. Jay Leno, David Letterman, they hated each other. They were both fighting to be number one in the ratings. Howard Stern built his career in radio by creating enemies in new markets and then dominating them. Today, there is no competition in late night television. Everyone wants to be friends. Let's give each other woke hugs. I love you, you love me. None of us can draw ratings. That geek on Fox is in his own ratings class where we're holding hands and playing grab ass. These dudes are all friends. They're butt buddies. They're cheering each other on. They're supporting each other. Dear Jim, you were amazing tonight. That abortion lecture was super duper. Your friend Stevie. P.S. Thanks for the tulips. No one wants to watch Friends. Think about it. Think about your favorite show on TV, reality show, scripted drama, whatever it is. I guarantee you the appeal of the show is rooted in conflict. We have been watching this show on Fox recently called The Snake. It's a game show where everyone is essentially lying to each other. It's not called The Friend. It's not called The Acquaintance. They didn't get a group of strangers together to make friendship bracelets. Why? Because they knew no one would watch that garbage. Late night television is failing because they are splitting a rapidly dwindling woke audience and because no one wants to compete. No one wants to call each other out. They don't want to make jokes about each other. We want to support each other. Yeah, you're supporting each other out of a job. But give me your thoughts on this. Seth Meyers, he is worried about his job. He doesn't blame himself, but he is clearly concerned about the future of his show on NBC. Now, I don't see NBC canceling The Tonight Show with Jim Fallon, but I could see NBC firing and then canceling Seth Meyers' show. What about you? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.